Hey guys, what's up? It's been a little while, and sorry for that. If you want me to elaborate, put comments down below. Maybe I'll make a video on that. But otherwise, let's get back into it. So in my spare time, I have been playing some games on my Switch and stuff, and dabbling here and there, and then sticking with a few others. So I thought I'd be running through that, talking about them a little bit, maybe give you guys some ideas for what you'd like to play. Okay, first one I picked up on sale about 3 weeks ago called Origami Shadow Edition. So this is the base game that originally came out along with the DLC that I haven't gotten around to yet. But basically, you are a summoned ninja made out of shadows by a girl who I don't know if she's quite a spirit yet or if she's real and projecting herself. The story's kind of weird. It's got that Japanese kind of like art style, like painted art style to everything. It's got a very cool look. The mechanics are really cool. Um, you do throughout the world use like shadow powers. As you are like a shadow yourself, you have to kind of charge up your powers. So you stay inside shadows and you have like a little like robe on the back, and what you see is like as you stay in shadows that will charge up to give you your abilities. I'm sure down the road you seem to upgrade abilities and stuff and add new abilities, and I'm sure stuff like using up like shadow power or whatever they want to call it for using these abilities and all that are like a potential upgrades down the road. I'm still very early in the game, but I'm having a lot of fun. Like the newest power I just got is like being able to project a shadow in a light spot, so you can actually do like teleportations, because you can do teleportations only from one spot to another, but only in shadow. So now I can actually create like a small shadow for a moment to actually teleport to that spot. What it does do is it leaves you open to attack, because once that shadow dissolves, which doesn't take very long at all, and you're like in a light spot, you can't recharge your powers. So, and it's very easy to die in this. It's just like one hit kill. But the game is good about respawning you back where you were. All right, Battle Princess Madeline is a game that's really going to speak to people that really like retro inspired games, and more so people that like games like Ghouls and Ghosts. It takes very heavily from that particular game, and it is a collaboration between the game developer and his daughter, who Battle Princess Madeline, I believe, is based off of. The controls are very tight. The game has very good art style, pixel art style. There's some cool effects in there, like reflections in the water and stuff like that. The game has some really cool power ups. She can actually get armor, which will in turn make her whatever she's holding at the time, whether it's like axes, spears, sword, whatever, actually have like a level powered up beyond that. I've only played the arcade version of this. There is more like, I guess, a story version of it that's a little bit different, but I've just digged into the arcade so far. The game is a ton of fun. I never felt like at any point like I got cheated or there's a problem with the controls or anything like that. But it is on that level of Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts, whatever one you like. It's in that same genre. It is very hard, so you know something to be wary of. Castlevania Anniversary Collection came out on the Switch, and I had to pick it up. It was $20, and I love these games. I grew up with these games. These games are a big part of the reason why I love video games today. This particular collection comes with. It's not going to have any of the Metroidvania or Metroid style Castlevania games in this. So you have Castlevania 1, 2, and 3 from the NES. Yes, there's also a bonus game, Kid Dracula, that only came out on the Famicom system, which was the NES in Japan. They did translate it to English and bring it over. It's a very different style game. Then there's the two Game Boy games, Castlevania Adventure and Belmont's Revenge. And then after that, there is Super Castlevania 4, which I always just prefer calling it Super Castlevania because it's actually just a remake of Castlevania 1 on the Super Nintendo. I guess they put the 4 on there because marketing. And then there is Castlevania Bloodlines, which is the Genesis game that came out during the 16-bit generation. And I've never really dug into it, but I really enjoy it. So this collection is done by M2, a Japanese developer, and they mostly specialize in just ports of games from older systems. And when I mean specialize, I mean these guys meticulously do their work. They're the guys that are responsible for the Sega Ages collection. So if any of you guys have gotten that stuff like Outrun or Space Harrier or anything like that, and you've really enjoyed it, you can thank these guys. They have a different. So these games are emulated, but their philosophy on the way that they approach games is a lot of people try to build something like an NES emulator or something to play most of the games on an NES or whatever. These guys will take an emulator, look at what the game was, how the game was supposed to run. A lot of times, look at how it is running on original hardware, and build the emulator around that for the game specifically. And it usually turns out pretty well. There is everything on here is emulated pretty much flawlessly. However, I did notice for whatever reason on Castlevania 1, when some of the high notes kick in, there's like a high-pitched beep or something that goes. Something I hope they do patch in, but so far, like the emulation across the board here has been fantastic. Speaking of M2 and Sega Ages stuff, so this is a release that only came out in Japan, and I just have a lot of really fond memories of Virtual Racing. Unfortunately, it's not in the US yet, but the Switch is technically not region locked, and if you make a secondary account on the Switch and set it to Japan, you can get access to the Japanese eShop. And that's what I did. I did that, and I went to the G2A and got myself like a few credits for the Japanese eStore, and I downloaded Virtual Racing, the Sega Ages version. This is freaking awesome. They took the original arcade Model 1 board and code and did some what they call code conversion, which is usually like when you port it from like something like assembly to C or whatever they had to do here. And so basically it's like a translation. And they made it run on a Nintendo Switch the way, for the most part, what it ran on the arcade. They did do some extra things because that's what M2 does best. They typically add a couple extra things here. So, like Outrun, the Sega Ages Outrun collection that I was loving for a while back, they did actually get this to run from the normal 30 that would on the arcade board to 60 FPS. So it's really smooth. It's upscaled to 720 in the dock or 720 handheld and 1080 in the dock. There were some things that they did back then that shadows were not as easy to do as they are today. So what they would there's this effect called dithering, and dithering's just like a grid of like dots. Kind of looks like a screen door. And when you put it on something like a CRT that kind of smears the image a little bit, it looks translucent. Well, if you did that on a higher resolution monitor today, it would just look like a pattern of grids or like a screen door. So what they did is they actually changed it so the dithering was at a much higher resolution, so many more dots to make it up, and the effect works pretty well. It looks like it did on a CRT. It's just the amount of like little details that do for stuff like this is amazing, and I've been really enjoying it. It's kind of funny to go back to a 3D game from 1992 and seeing it run as close to arcade perfect on your Switch or whatever. I didn't see any performance dips or anything like that. A lot of features that are in there. There's like a what do you want to call it? Like a endurance mode there. So instead of like the normal 5 laps, it's like 20, and you can change like the color of the car. Believe it or not, Virtual Racing actually did have a wide body version. It did have a wide, like 16 by 9 CRT back in the day. And so they didn't really have to do a whole lot to get it to run in widescreen. It was already there. They just had to up-res it and stuff like that and get it running in the first place, which is a pretty hard feat to do, but it's about as close as Arcade Perfect I've seen. It unfortunately doesn't have a lot of the extra tracks from the 32X version and stuff like that, but it does have a little bit of extras here and there if you go through it, so...
Just couldn't handle us.
One of the genres I'm really psyched to play all the time is open world stuff. I love open world games, and so I got Saints Row the Third for the Switch. It's the first kind of GTA style open world game to hit the Switch technically, unless you count Retro City Rampage. But it is a fantastic game. It still holds up in a lot of ways today. However, and this is the big but on this one, big but, it doesn't run very well. According to Digital Foundry, they did a video on it, and it's due to the fact that this engine does what's called deferred rendering, and what I can tell deferred rendering is just, it's the way that lighting is handled in the engine. So on the first like pass, apparently lighting's not done at all, and it's done in later passes. And I guess this is supposed to be a performance boost, but developers have said, and the Switch is apparently known at not being good at this kind of rendering, so the game doesn't run very well. It runs okay on portable mode. In docked mode, it drops down in the teens, like often, and you can tell it's not pretty. Yeah, and they did patch the game once. The game had really bad control lag starting out. They did fix the control lag, but the performance issues are still there. Seeing that the Switch is only a little bit more powerful, so that, like, the 360 would have been around like 300 gigaflops performance. The Switch, even in docked mode, is only like 400. And this being an older engine and stuff like that, there's not any of the new techniques or tricks or anything they can do to make it run better on the Tegra SoC. So I don't know if this will ever get fixed. Right now, I've got so many other games to play, I've kind of put it back on the shelf to see if another future patch comes out. Hopefully that they'll fix it. I was hoping that this port that they would actually go and dig through, like almost like M2 does with some of their ports of their older retro style games, and do things like field of view rendering or something like that to make it run a little bit better. But I guess it's not possible with this engine, and I didn't really realize that. It's still a fun game. However, I can't right now in good confidence recommend it to you. If you could play it someplace else, and especially on PC, because PC will give you a full 60 FPS, no problem, silky smooth. But if you can play it someplace else better, like PC, I would recommend that before getting the Switch version. But it's alright, because we got Shakedown Hawaii too. Shakedown Hawaii is a 16-bit demake of like GTA style games. So it's over the top. It's sort of like an older GTA or like Chinatown Wars or something like that. But it's a little bit more silly, a little bit more hammy. This is actually kind of a successor to Retro City Rampage, not a direct sequel though. Same developer, V Blank, but instead of like kind of like taking all the video game tropes and pop culture references and stuff, he's gone and made his own story here. More about like capitalism and greed and so you start the game off by playing a CEO of a company that is failing due to things like Amazon, online shopping, and video streaming through the internet and stuff like that. The world's kind of weird because you'll see characters like on their cell phones and they're like old Motorola bricks and stuff like that. But there's still these things like VR that exist in this world. There's actually a mission where you go and buy a VR arcade or whatever. And yeah, it's an interesting game. I haven't gotten a whole lot into it. I actually got stuck at one point. I think there might be a bug in the game. It told me to fast forward the world's like the world clock or whatever. You can fast forward like 20 times, and there's like a mission where you do that, and it just won't go past that. So I think I need to start it over again. Hopefully that'll fix it. But from what I played so far, it's fun. It's got a good synthwave soundtrack, and I look forward to playing more. I actually beat Retro City Rampage twice. I beat it the first time before it got fixed because apparently it was too hard the first time, and I played it again when the DX version of Retro City Rampage came out. Just want to mention real quick, I have continued to play Yoshi's Crafted World. My thoughts on it so far, the game's good. I like the different variants of gameplay style and all that. It's a really good platformer. There's a lot of extra little things here and there, like go find this item in the world or go rescue Poochie to kind of expand the amount of gameplay. So there's a lot of replayability to it here and there. But I could see where, because of the repetitiveness of a lot of these tasks and stuff, I could see where the game gets a little bit boring. There's some cool things though, like the outfits that Yoshi wears. I didn't realize this until like way later in the game, that the outfits are actually like armor for Yoshi. So if he gets hit, it'll take damage on the armor itself instead of hurting his health or whatnot. He's got like a bunch of hearts around him, like in all the other Yoshi games, that represent his health. Since one of the goals in every world is to try to get through the gate completely full and healthy, this armor will help you with that. If you get 3 hits on the armor gets destroyed and you have to, like, I guess, repurchase it again. And if you like Yoshi games in the past, especially Yoshi's Island, you'll probably more than likely like this one. It's pretty fun. Okay, so one weekend when I was in Seattle, I went to Pink Gorilla to actually get a battery changed, save battery in my Mario Kart. Mario Kart, actually, it was Super Mario World, had died. And so I wanted to go get the battery changed so it could hold saves. And so when I was there, I was looking around because it takes about 15 minutes to get the battery swapped. And good for them, probably not so much for my wallet, but I looked around and I saw Thumper, the limited run edition, sitting in the case because they do get limited run games there and put them on for sale. And it's a game I was curious about because I like rhythm games, but I didn't quite get into. And since I saw it and it had this nice foil art going on, and I'm a sucker for foil art, I figured I'd go ahead and spend the 40 bucks on it and see what it's like. So, what, Thumper is a weird game. You play as a steel beetle going down a track as there's beats and music and drums and stuff going off. And you have to hit different markers, skip over obstacles, smash through barriers, take like these like luge style turns all to the beat of the music or rhythm. There's not really music. I don't know. Why don't you just check it out for yourself and you can see and let me know. And yeah, there's boss battles too, where some of the beats will glide back on the track, and they look like a freaking photon torpedo from Star Trek shooting at the enemy. It's a cool visual experience. Runs great on the Switch. It's running silky smooth 60. It's 720 portable, 1080 in docked mode. It's actually a really great version of the game, and I really enjoy it. I'm glad I picked it up. I'm glad that it was so shiny because I couldn't resist. Okay, and the last game on the list has got some gruesome stuff, so if you got any kids in the room or something like that, earmuffs, cover their eyes, whatever you got to do, or just don't show them as part of the video. But one of the things I enjoy about the Switch is that as an adult, it's got some, mature rated games and stuff I enjoy on it. And I'll be honest, this next game I've played plenty of times because I've enjoyed it that much. And when I heard it was coming to a Switch with a physical copy, I had to have it. So I didn't get it until a few days late because I guess there were some manufacturing issues or something, but I'm talking about Sniper Elite V2. And this is a game that not only is it good on the Switch, it is like the pinnacle of what ports on a Switch should be. So the next best port I can think of to this is Darksiders War Mastered Edition. Both these games are older games that came out during the PS3 360 era. Came out later on as a special edition with added like effects and lighting engines and stuff like that. Maybe textures were cleaned up a little bit. And with the Switch being so close in power to those original consoles, you kind of worry sometimes that they're just going to like port the original version and like the remastered version is just going to be that without the special effects and stuff added in. But no, both versions actually have the effects added in. So how's it run on Switch? It is 30 FPS like the original release. However, it is running at full native 720 and portable and 1080 and docked, which is nice. I would like to see something like in War Mastered Edition of Darksiders where you could have the option to run at a lower resolution or run at 60. However, the 30 FPS here is, like I said, rock solid. I've only seen a dip maybe once, and I'm probably about a quarter way through the game so far. I've played it enough to know where I'm essentially at. I'm actually almost halfway through the game. So if you want to know what kind of game this is, you're playing a sniper during World War II, and as you're lining up shots, cool stuff like this happens. I know, badass, right? It's pretty cool. So as you're going through, and one of the concerns I had is because I'm really not particularly good with analog stick aim. I like to see some gyro in there. I'm personally a Steam controller user. I'm used to gyro aim and have been for a while, but also like from other systems like the Switch, or not Switch, the Nintendo Wii had some gyro aim stuff in some games and stuff like that. And actually, somebody that tends to like gyro aim if it's done right. And there's only one other game on this Switch that does gyro aim better than this, and that's Breath of the Wild. They did a pretty good job. A lot of people are going to have different opinions about how much gyro aim they want. And I think there's people that are just going to want gyro aim to be for every aspect of it, meaning that they want to pan the scope up and down and everything just with motion controls. But I like the way they did it here. So it only kicks on when you're looking down sights, and there's a sensitivity that you can adjust in the game options of how much or how little you want. And then when you're just running around the game normally, not looking down sights, it's actually turned off. But they set it up intended the way that I would if I was using something like the Steam controller, where you use the analog stick to aim most of the way, and you just use the gyro to fine tune a little bit. So you get your target there most of the way, and then you fine tune, and then you pull your shot off. It works really, really, really well. I'm kind of shocked at how good it is in this game. It's exactly what I was hoping for in this conversion of Sniper Elite. I'm telling you, it's an amazing port. If you have any interest in it whatsoever, or just because I mentioned it, Darksiders too, even though we're not covering it here, Darksiders is a great port too. But if you have any interest in it, please check it out. It's awesome. Do it for me. Hopefully we can do more of these videos down the road. I think this works a little bit better with my current lifestyle, making these kind of videos, because I can just kind of pick up and take off to where I need to for like an hour here and there and get this kind of work done. But if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to bang that follow button down there, or I guess it's subscribe on Twitch. I'm all mixed up because of Twitch. And dingle my bell so you can get notifications if you like it. If you like this video, leave a like and maybe a comment down below. And what games have you guys been playing on PC, PS4, Switch, whatever? I'd like to know. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.